The trucks galore. Douglas was not enjoying his life at the yards because the trucks had been mean to him every day, and Douglas wasn't very happy about it. Sometimes when he's with Donald, he's always with him, but that still never scares the trucks because they're still not afraid of Donald when he's with Douglas. Because they're still not afraid of Donald when he's with Douglas. One day, Douglas was at the yards pretending that he didn't see the trucks when he spotted Scruffy. Scruffy found Douglas and spoke to him meanly. "Hello, Mr. Douglas," he said. "Looks like Donald isn't here to be with you this time." "I don't care what you think I am," said Douglas. "You're cruel and pathetic," he said. "That's what you are. And if you'll excuse me, I'm about to go to the station with some news, and you must know that." And Douglas puffed away. "How dare he calls me pathetic," said Scruffy. "Yeah," said the trucks. "You're the best." "Yeah," said Scruffy. Douglas hurried along the line. He was ready to go to the station to meet a new engine. He arrived at Wellsworth Station, and in front of him was a familiar engine he had never seen for years. He looked unusual. The Fat Controller turned to Douglas. "Douglas, this is Connor. He's going to be learning from you for a while." "Hello," said Connor. "Hello, Connor," said Douglas. "I see you're new to the railway today." "I am," said Connor. "So, what now?" The Fat Controller said to Connor and Douglas. "Today," said the Fat Controller, "Douglas will be teaching you how to pull trucks. So, today," said the Fat Controller, "Douglas will be teaching you how to pull trucks, and you must listen carefully." Connor did as the Fat Controller said. "Yes, sir," he said. "I'll try, sir." "That's a good engine," said the Fat Controller. "Douglas, why don't you show Connor around the yards for a while? Show him the trucks." "Okay, sir," said Douglas. "Come on, Connor," he said, and with that Connor and Douglas were off to the yards. They were finally at the yards, and there was Scruffy feeling cross with Douglas about what happened before. "Hello, Mr. Think that he knows everything," said Scruffy. "This is for calling me pathetic." Douglas took no notice of Scruffy, and he was still showing Connor around the yards. "Here are the trucks," he said. Now it's important that if you don't bump them, and if you bump them, they'll bump you back, and then they'll have serious plans to knock you off the rails. You must tap them gently." Right, said Connor, and Connor was ready. He was switched to the line where the trucks were, and Connor was ready to push them gently. "Who's this?" said the trucks. "He doesn't look like a proper engine." Connor ignored the trucks and started to concentrate. The trucks were on line, and Connor was done. "Well done, Connor," said Douglas. You are a really good shunter." "Thank you," said Connor, and Connor went to the yards with Douglas. Just then, Nert and Bert arrived. Bert buffered up to the back of the trucks, while Nert was ready to pull them. They were surprised to see Douglas and Connor. Just then, Nert started with a very silly thing he was going to tell Douglas. "Anyway, Douglas," he said, "it's good that But Donald's not around, now that you're no longer with him. Look, doesn't that make you look stupid? Douglas was cross. You are worse than those trucks, he said. And who's this here? said Bert. He doesn't look like Donald anyway. You're still one of his learners. Connor spoke to the twins. I'm new to this railway actually, said Connor, and my name's Connor. If I were you two, you should be getting going. You should be carrying on with your work. Yeah, said Douglas. Go away, you two. The twins took no notice and puffed away with their goods. We'll show Douglas how it's done, said Nert. Agreed so, said Bert, and we'll show his new friends how it's done too, thought Nert. And with that, the twins chuffed away. Douglas spoke kindly to Connor. I'm sorry about Nert and Bert's behaviour, said Douglas. They can be rude sometimes. Oh, it's all right, said Connor. Oh, it's all right, said Connor. Really, it was. Well, said Douglas, when they first came to this railway, Donald and I had a fight with those two, and we never even made friends and Donald and I never even made friends to those two while they wanted to show the Fat Controller how much they hated us. I see, said Connor, and where is Donald anyway, and who is he? My twin, said Douglas. He's at the works today, but he will be back tomorrow, I hope, he thought. Anyway, time for me to show you around and then we can go back. Certainly, said Connor, and with that the two were off. The two big engines were tired. Douglas had been showing Connor around all day, and Connor had been shown around all day by Douglas, and with that the two went to sleep for the night. Then there was trouble. Bert and Nert were up to mischief while the two engines were asleep. They were going to swap their tenders and get them mixed up, which one's theirs. Now on the count of three, said Nert, we swap their tenders. 1, 2, 3, and with that, Bert took off Douglas's tender, and Nert took off Connor's tender, and with that, the two switched their tenders to the wrong engine, and with that, while Connor and Douglas were asleep, they didn't know that the twins were around. Good job, well done, said the twins. Let's go back. Let's get back home and go to sleep. Sure, said Nert, and with that, the twin engines were off. Early next morning, Douglas woke up with a start and looked behind, realizing that his tender was missing. My tender, he said. What's happened to it? Connor woke up with a start. What do you mean, where's your tender? Your tender is still with you. No, said Douglas. My tender, it's attached to you, and mine and yours is attached to mine. Just look at us already. Don't be silly, said Connor. You must have been dreaming. When he looked back, he did have Douglas's tender. Oh no, said Connor. Somebody must have been playing this trick on us, he thought. It's the twins, said Douglas. Oh, I think I knew that, said Connor, and with that, the two set off to have a word with them. When they found the twins together, they told the Fat Controller what was going on, and he spoke severely to them. "You two have been causing so much trouble over the past few days," he said, and I thought the both of you know that you do not swap tenders to a tender engine while you both know that they are really tender engines, he said. I bet you the two of you must have some more apologies to Douglas and Connor. "Sorry," they said. "We're terribly sorry," they said to the two engines, and the Fat Controller felt better. "You two should be going back to the sheds again, and you won't deserve it." The twins were cross, and with that they had to go. They had to be awarded to be grounded again in the sheds and shunt trucks for the rest of the day. The twins puffed crossly away. The Fat Controller turned to Connor and Douglas. "Douglas, I'm very proud of you," he said. "You have been teaching Connor the ways of my railway," he said. If Donald was here, he would have been proud of you." "Certainly," said Douglas. "As a reward, I will change your tenders back to normal." "Thank you, sir," said Connor. "And thank you, Douglas," said Connor. "You've been teaching me everything." Douglas smiled happily.